When Bella hit rock bottom financially, I tied the knot with her. I safeguarded her business through a bankruptcy overhaul and eventually made it onto the millionaires list. However, she accused me of exploiting her vulnerable state and wrecking her happiness. In revenge, she went public with her flashy romance with a younger guy. And there I was, her secret husband. Eventually, I reached a breaking point, tried to end my life, and filed for divorce. Yet, Bella bawled her eyes out and knelt down, begging me to return. As midnight struck, the dinner on the table had already cooled off. Bottling up the unnamed bitter feelings inside, I got up to head back to the bedroom for some rest. It was our wedding anniversary, and she still hadn't shown up, probably spending the night with Jake now. Just as I turned around, the phone on the table rang. It was Bella. I was caught off guard, but quickly picked up. "Ben here," she said. "Meet me at the Wish Hotel, private room 709. Her message was short but clear. A private hotel room perfect for a big anniversary celebration. My heart leapt with excitement, and I responded cheerfully, "Got it, I'll be there soon." Pushing open the door to the private room, I was floored. The room was buzzing with people and a banner that read in bold, "Congrats, Jake, on getting into grad school." Bella and Jake were the main attraction. Surrounded by everyone, I felt my face burn with embarrassment and rage. I glanced at Bella, who was just holding on to Jake, looking down at me with a smirk. "See, he's here. Told you he'd show up. Such a simp, huh? She's already got a boyfriend, and he's still acting like a fanboy." A group of my old classmates, petty folks who loved to poke at others' wounds, were all around. I slammed the door shut, trying to leave, but it was locked. As I attempted to exit, they started to block me with shady intentions. "Don't leave, man. We're just having fun. Have a drink or two." They shoved me back to my seat, and in the scuffle, several shots of strong liquor went down my throat. I'm a light drinker, so I started feeling dizzy. Shaking my head to clear the booze, I found myself back in my kitchen at home. The meal was still cold. A chill ran through me as I stumbled toward Bella, who looked puzzled and surprised. "Do you remember today's our anniversary?" I asked, frustration bubbling up. Pointing at the cold food, I added, "I spent hours cooking this, and it got cold waiting for you." Bella's surprise turned into a playful grin. Confused, I frowned, not understanding her laughter. Suddenly, a glass of cold water splashed onto my face, and the dining room scene collapsed into chaos. The noisy banner, laughter, Jake's furious face, all reminding me I was still in that private room. Jake tossed another glass of water my way, making me look utterly pathetic. "Stay away from Bella, Ben. Stop obsessing over a woman who isn't yours, or I'll make you regret it." Everyone burst into laughter at my expense. I tried to escape, but was pinned down, unable to move. "Why are you in such a rush to leave? We're just getting started." I sat in the corner, hoping the party would end quickly. They started playing Truth or Dare, with laughter and screams filling the room. This time, Bella was picked and dared to kiss a man there. My heart twisted in agony at the thought of her kissing Jake. It felt like a personal execution. I kept my head down, avoiding the scene. But instead of cheers, the room fell silent. A shadow loomed over me. "How can you kiss with your head down?" I looked up to see Bella smirking at me. She lifted my face and whispered, "Wedding anniversary. Make it up to you." Her alluring scent muddled my already foggy mind as I awaited that fateful kiss. Instead, Bella snorted, threw my hand away, and walked off laughing lightly before passionately kissing Jake. I couldn't take it anymore and kicked open the door, fleeing in disarray. There was a time when Bella and I were deeply in love. We met at a college dance, our waltz perfectly in sync, just the two of us. After dancing, she hid in my arms, laughing heartily and stirring my emotions. Later, we ran into each other again at a business meeting and realized we were both heirs. Me from the Lee family and her from the Kim family. It seemed like we were destined for each other. I started chasing after her, and she responded enthusiastically. We dined together, went shopping, exchanged gifts, and spent Valentine's Day wrapped up in each other. Everyone assumed we'd end up together, and so did I. So, when Bella faced bankruptcy, I offered her a contract and asset list, telling her that marrying me was her best bet. I restructured her company during the bankruptcy, and she stared at the thick contract for what felt like forever. Eventually, she signed it multiple times with shaky hands, her eyes red, cursing me for exploiting her situation and seizing control. Is this fun for you, Ben? On our wedding day, she told me flatly that she didn't love me and that our marriage was just a strategic alliance for our own gains. She kept our marriage under wraps, but the next day she openly showed her affection for Jake. I convinced myself it was okay, thinking she'd come back once she was done having fun. One night, a woman's cry woke me up. Wait, why is that a woman's voice? I jolted awake to find a naked woman sitting beside the bed, crying softly. No way. I pulled back the quilt and saw I was naked too. The woman, seeing I was awake, sobbed. Last night you got drunk, and I took you to the hotel to rest. But as soon as we got there, you suddenly pinned me down. I tried hard to remember the events of the previous night. Didn't I flee home? No, I never went home. The private room door was locked tight by them. As I tried to leave, they kept pushing me back into my seat. I drank glass after glass to numb my sorrows, feeling dizzy. The last thing I remembered was a woman helping me out of the private room. Ben, we were classmates, and yet you ruined my purity. I stared at her and asked, did we really? Rubbing my temples, I felt irritated. How much money to shut you up? No cash can restore my purity. Enough, I shouted firmly. How long are you going to play this trick? These schemes aren't even worth my time. As the Lee family heir, countless women are trying to get into my bed. This drunken one-night stand is old news. I grabbed her chin, staring into her eyes. Do you know that men can't even get it up when they're drunk? I was dead drunk last night. How could I have been with you? If you want money, just name a price. Otherwise, get out. The woman hurriedly dressed and fled the hotel in a panic. The memories of last night's party began to resurface, and I sat dazed on the bed. After a while, I got dressed and left the room. As I opened the door, I saw Bella leaning against the wall, smoking, as if she'd been waiting for me forever. Why, you into this kind of woman now? Bella asked coldly, exhaling smoke. I glanced at Jake beside her, with obvious love marks on his neck. Jake was the only one who knew about my marriage to Bella. Watching his clumsy attempts to win her over sometimes made me want to laugh, though mostly it annoyed me. I turned away, not wanting to meet her gaze. Why? You can mess around with men, but I can't with women. You were the one who said we should each play our own games. She stubbed out her cigarette and changed the subject. Do you know why I came to see you? I felt something was off. Bella and I never really knew each other's whereabouts. So how did she find me at this hotel? Bella chuckled and threw her phone at me. See for yourself. I took the phone, my frown deepening. On the screen was a post by that woman, explicitly accusing me of forcing herself on her. The accusation was vivid and detailed. Reading it made me want to end it all. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but Bella snatched the phone back, her eyes filled with disgust. Ben, do you really enjoy taking what you want by force? Wasn't taking me enough for you? Now you have to force respectable women too. My heart froze. Too tired to explain, I stormed forward without looking back. Then let's get a divorce. I'll give you your freedom. As soon as the words left my mouth, I was shocked. I couldn't believe I'd just suggested a divorce. After all, we both knew I was the one trying to hold our marriage together. Bella was stunned for a moment, then sneered. What a joke. I'm not joking. We can divorce right now, I said firmly. I heard the sound of a phone shattering behind me. Bella yelled angrily. Divorce? Don't even think about it. I spent money trying to limit the spread of the slanderous post, but it was so sensational that people kept sharing and commenting on it. More and more folks found my phone number, and I kept getting calls filled with curses and vile content. I couldn't handle it anymore. I tracked down the woman who framed me and served her a lawyer's letter, informing her that the court session would start next month, and that if she revealed the truth now, I might consider reducing her sentence. Panicked, the woman confessed everything. Jake told me to do this. He said if I took some compromising photos of you and posted them online, he'd give me $30,000. I thought it was a minor issue, but it escalated into a criminal offense. Jake, I muttered, savoring the name. Lawyer Daniel, make sure the punishment is as harsh as possible. Ignoring her desperate pleas, I left the negotiation room. I sent the evidence and the lawyer's letter directly to Jake, telling him that unless he and the woman publicly admitted the truth and apologized on video, I'd take them to court. 2 hours later, Bella brought Jake to see me. Jake immediately knelt down. Ben, I was just trying to play a joke. I'm sorry, really sorry. I didn't realize it would blow up like this. Please forgive me. Bella pulled Jake up, saying tenderly, Don't kneel, stand up. What can he do to you? I watched their little performance coldly as Bella calmed Jake down, then frowned, ready to negotiate. Ben, do you know how much damage a lawyer's letter will do to Jake? If you take him to court, he'll get expelled. Do you know how hard he worked to get into grad school? And what about me? I retorted. Doesn't the harm done to me count? What harm? She asked, surprised. You're a man. You won't suffer from things like this. I couldn't help but laugh. I opened my messages and showed her the abusive texts. Rapist. Go die. Besides the nasty words, there were terrifying pictures filled with curses against me. Seeing these messages, Bella fell silent. After a long pause, she gently took my hand. Just endure it for now. Jake worked so hard to get into grad school. It wasn't easy for him. And was it easy for me? I asked, feeling like she was a stranger. We both worked hard to get into this school, enduring so much. Doesn't my hard work count? I showed her a photo on my phone. Because of my reputation as a rapist, I was expelled. Bella hesitated, then squeezed my hand tightly, forcing a smile. Ben, it doesn't matter if you're expelled. You're the Lee family heir. With your company and wealth, you'll still succeed without this degree. But Jake comes from a poor background. Without this degree, he'll have nothing. I raised my hand to stop her. What does his misfortune have to do with me? He framed me first. Everything he has, he'll lose. So no matter what, you want to disgrace him and make him drop out. He has another option, prison. He can choose, I said without backing down. Either he publicly apologizes, or I take him to court. She pointed at me. Ben, you've got guts. Jake's apology video went viral overnight, becoming a trending topic. I thought it would clear my name, but people weren't interested in listening to explanations anymore. He's the Lee family heir, rich and powerful. Finding a scapegoat is easy, so pathetic. Forced to be a scapegoat. Just got into grad school and forced out. What's wrong with this world? Comment after comment twisted the truth. Anyone with half a brain could see who hired these trolls. I called Bella directly. Did you hire those trolls? So what if I did? My hand stopped tapping the desk abruptly. I never expected Bella to stop pretending. She didn't realize those relentless abusive comments had pushed me to the edge. Now I could only sleep with the help of pills and was even diagnosed with moderate depression. After a moment of silence, I spoke wearily. No one wants to believe me. And I was expelled, too. Are you done? Came the immediate response. I didn't know if she had genuinely forgotten or was just pretending. This school was the same one we both worked hard to get into, enduring so much to be admitted. It held the memories of our youth. I fell silent again. And after a long pause, I spoke tiredly. Bella, let's get a divorce. This was the second time I mentioned it. There was a long silence on the other end. I continued, laying out everything I'd been holding back. Since you already have someone you love, I'm willing to step aside. Being with you is exhausting. I don't want to compete for your favor or wait for scraps of your affection. Let's set a date and get divorced. Another long silence followed. Finally, Bella's weary voice came through. I don't agree. We'll discuss it in person when we have time. All right, In person? I rubbed my forehead and hung up. An assistant walked in, handing me some documents. D. Mr. Lee, a business partner, wants to meet this afternoon. I tossed the folder aside, annoyed. There are so many business partners. If they all wanted to meet me in person, would I still have time to handle my duties? The assistant awkwardly replied, "This partner brought a big overseas deal worth $5 billion. I paused. Okay, schedule the meeting. Looking at the young woman in front of me, grinning widely, I couldn't believe she was the business partner bringing the $5 billion deal from overseas. I'm Lisa, pleased to work with you. I tried to ignore her overly enthusiastic look and began reviewing the project proposal. However, Lisa kept chatting nonstop, making me feel helpless. I put the proposal away and smiled at her. Can we focus on reviewing the project first? She tilted her head, showing a disappointed yet hopeful expression. Mr. Lee, you really are forgetful, huh? Have you forgotten me so quickly? I frowned, confused. Do we know each other? She sighed, took out a little bunny keychain from her bag and waved it in front of me. Does this remind you of anything? I stared at the bunny, trying to recall, but nothing came to mind. She sighed heavily. It's been 5 years, but I still remember. We met at a matchmaking event. I liked you a lot, and then you rejected me, saying you already had someone you liked. I cried, and you gave me this keychain to cheer me up. She put the bunny back into her bag as if it were a treasure. I smiled helplessly. 5 years ago? That's quite a long time. Not for me. My feelings haven't changed in 5 years. I like you, and I'm going to pursue you again. Her words shocked everyone. I hurriedly covered her mouth. What are you talking about? She cheerfully removed my hand. I haven't forgotten you in 5 years. I came back to find you since you don't have a girlfriend. I'm going to pursue you. I smiled helplessly. You've got it all wrong. I came back to find you because you don't have a girlfriend. I'm going to pursue you. I smiled helplessly. You've got it all wrong. I'm already married. What? Her mouth dropped open in shock. I smiled and asked, why would you think I don't have a girlfriend? She fumbled and nervously explained, people in love have a certain sweet aura and many little details. She rambled on, but I zoned out. No wonder no one ever thought Bella and I were a couple despite being secretly married. Maybe my smile was too bitter, and Lisa stopped her incessant talking, embarrassed. Are you okay? I came back to my senses, looked up at her, and smiled slightly. I'm fine. Let's talk about the contract. Bella came home reeking of alcohol. I helped her onto the sofa and covered her with a blanket. Lie down first. I'll make some hangover soup. As I turned, a hand suddenly gripped my sleeve tightly. Ben, we won't divorce. Her drunken voice was full of grievance and flirtatiousness. I stopped in my tracks, drunk. Her body was soft and limp, clinging to my stiff frame. Her breath reeked of alcohol. Ben, we won't divorce. We'll stay together. She kept repeating my name, full of dependence and affection. I sat beside her, gently stroking her forehead. Bella, why don't we divorce? You don't love me, and you have Jake now. I'm just your secret husband. Divorcing me won't cause you any loss. Her heavy breathing stopped abruptly. I sighed softly and stood up. You haven't been drunk long enough. Your acting isn't convincing. When you're drunk, you only hold my face and kiss me. You don't speak logically, and this time your talk about divorce is too careless. Her hand gripping my sleeve tightened suddenly. I took off my shirt and covered her with it. If you still want to act, then sleep well. She sneered, her face turning ashen as she sat up. Ben, I won't divorce you. Why? I asked, puzzled. Ben, because I want you to be miserable forever. I want to use our marriage to lock you away from any chance of happiness. I laughed, pulling a cigarette from under the sofa and lighting it. You mess with men, I mess with women. How can marriage restrict me? Because I'm your unforgettable first love. Even if I'm flawed, I'm still your unforgettable first love. I held her hand. If I remember correctly, I'm also your first love, an unforgettable first love. You can cheat, but I can't. She was speechless for a moment. I smiled. Let's divorce. I'll give you a huge settlement. You can live comfortably with that money. Bella was furious, knocking a wine glass off the table and grabbing my collar. Money, money, is everything about money to you? You married me for shares and now want to divorce me for benefits. Why are you always so rational? Can't you sweet-talk me like other men? Are you crazy? I pushed her away. You're simply unreasonable. Get out. Bella spat through gritted teeth, pointing to the door. I grabbed my coat and opened the door. Suddenly, a body lunged into my arms. Lisa scratched her head and laughed. Seems like I came at a bad time. I pushed her away and strode toward the elevator. Eavesdropping isn't a good habit. Misunderstanding, misunderstanding. She explained, pulling out a stack of documents and handing them to me. This contract is urgent. I had to bring it to your home. I took it, opened the folder, and began to read carefully. These numbers, Lisa interrupted. I plan to pursue you again. She looked at me, eyes full of determination. I'll wait for you to divorce, then I'll pursue you. I won't give up like I did 5 years ago. Feeling helpless, I lifted the folder and patted her head. Joking. All right, young lady, I'll wait for you to pursue me. She chuckled. A cold, abrupt voice echoed in the empty stairwell. Ben, so this is why you want a divorce? Bella stood with her arms crossed, staring at me darkly, her eyes shifting between Lisa and me. If this is why you want a divorce, then I disagree even more. She stepped forward, looking down at Lisa coldly. Little girl, rushing to be a mistress, don't you have any shame? Lisa immediately retorted, You, a cheater, are worse than a mistress. Seeing them about to argue, I quickly pushed Lisa into the elevator and pressed the down button. Bella grabbed me, stood on the tiptoe to grip my collar, and asked angrily, Cheating, get lost. I pushed her away, straightening my disheveled collar, equally angry. What right do you have to say that to me? Damn it, Ben. You have a wife, Bella. Did you ever think about having a husband when you were with Jake? You cheating is justified, but if I do it, it's outrageous. You're so hypocritical. I'm innocent with Jake. This made me laugh. So many blatant love declarations on social media, kissing in public. That's called innocence. Too tired to argue, I turned to leave. As I turned, Jake stood there, tears streaming down his face, looking at Bella in disbelief. I sneered. Such innocence indeed. I insisted on divorcing Bella, but she stubbornly refused, leaving me frustrated and exhausted. Bella, what will it take for you to agree to a divorce? A cold voice came from the other end of the line, followed by the beeping of a hang-up. I sighed lightly and had just put down the phone when another call came in. Hello, Benjamin? Is this Mr. Benjamin? This is City First Hospital. Please come quickly. Mom, Dad, I cried hysterically, clinging to the coffin, not letting anyone approach. Mr. Lee, let go. If we don't bury them soon, we'll miss the auspicious time. No, I won't. I clung to the edge of the coffin, refusing to let go. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my arm and my consciousness slipped into darkness. Take Mr. Lee to the hospital. Hurry and bury Mr. and Mrs. Lee. My depression worsened. I could barely distinguish between reality and fantasy. In a daze, I seemed to see my parents standing in front of me again. Mom, Dad, you're back. I sniffed, feeling pitiful. Ben, don't be afraid. Mom and Dad will always be with you. But I could no longer feel their presence. I grabbed their clothes, the remaining scent almost gone. Ben, remember the jade pendant Mom gave you? It's our family heirloom. Do you still have it? I remember. I nodded frantically, like an obedient child with it. Mom and Dad will always be by your side. Okay, I will find it. In my memory, that jade pendant was placed in the bedside drawer at home. I returned from the hospital and opened the door. In the living room, Jake was kneeling in front of Bella. Sister Bella, I don't want to break up. I'm willing to do anything as long as we stay together. Bella impatiently handed him a contract. Breakup fee, $5 million? Sign it. No, I don't want it. Ignoring their melodramatic scene, I went to search the house. I turned the place upside down but couldn't find it anywhere. Ben, what exactly are you looking for? The jade pendant. My family heirloom jade pendant. Bella frowned. The pure white one. I reached out. Yes, that one. Give it to me. She lowered her head, not looking at me, and asked, Is it very important? I replied irritably, Yes, it's important. Give it to me. Bella came forward and hugged me. A terrible thought flashed through my mind. I started trembling all over. Ben, I'll find the best jade carver to make an identical one for you. I pushed her away, trembling, trying to suppress my breakdown. Bella, what do you mean? She looked up, her eyes filled with guilt and caution. Ben, that jade pendant was lost a month ago. Jake said he liked it, so I gave it to him. Later, he lost it. I really didn't know it was so important to you. Asterisk slap. Asterisk a crisp slap echoed. Bella's eyes were full of shock. My hand trembled as I slowly approached her neck. I imagined gripping her neck, tightening and tightening. Bella, how could it not be important? I told you at our wedding it was a family heirloom. I always kept it in the deepest part of the drawer. How did Jake see it? Bella's voice began to tremble. Ben, let me explain. Bella, I screamed, collapsing, tears falling like rain. Why did my parents die? Because you kept calling and bothering them while they were driving. If you didn't want a divorce, you should have come to me. Why bother them, trying to persuade me not to divorce? Bella, you've won. I covered my head, squatting in pain, screaming in despair. After a long time, I looked up and spoke firmly to Bella. You said you'd only divorce me if I died. Fine, I'll go die now. Instantly, I rushed into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and slashed at my neck with all my strength. In my last memory, I only saw blood covering the floor and Bella's frantic cries as she tried to stop the bleeding from my neck. Bella finally agreed to the divorce. After we walked out of the Civil Affairs office, I never saw her again. She said she would never give up on reconciling with me as long as she lived. I just walked away without looking back. Lisa held my hand, carefully glancing at the heavy bandages around my neck, and handed me some documents. These hospitals all look good for treating severe depression. I didn't take them. Staring out the window at the rapidly passing trees, I muttered, Find a hospital with the most trees. It's spring and everything is coming back to life. Maybe I will too. I transferred to a suitable rehab center, but the treatment wasn't effective and my condition worsened. Lisa began to doubt the hospital's competence and arranged for me to be transferred again. She pushed me through the lush garden, excitedly making plans for our recovery trip. I looked up, smiling at the young girl who stayed by my side. Lisa. My voice got stuck in my throat. I saw a fleeting figure among the trees and froze. What's wrong? She asked, puzzled. I shook my head. Nothing. Maybe I just... Oh, she kept pushing me forward without stopping. The gate was getting closer and closer. Stop, I shouted, startling her. What's wrong? I grabbed her hand, hurriedly saying, I think I saw Jake. Jake? She asked, confused. I nodded. She laughed with a hint of cruelty. I'll have someone check right away. If it's really him, things will get interesting. After spending a long time with Lisa, I discovered her personality wasn't as simple as it seemed. She was very cheerful, especially towards me, but in business she was ruthless, not hesitating to use underhanded tactics when necessary. Just like now, in front of me were two people tied up and covered in blood. Ben, one is Jake, the other is his sister. The person you saw in the hospital was his sister. She removed the gag from the person on the left and handed it to me. The person gasped for air, screaming, It was Jake. Jake made me do it. He said if I changed your medication dosage, you'd never get better. I personally pulled the gag out of Jake's mouth and asked softly, Jake, we have no enmity. Why are you doing this to me? Jake struggled like a fish out of water. Because I hate you. I hate that Bella loves you. From the start, she only saw me as a substitute, a tool to annoy you. I was so happy when you two divorced. I would never let you recover and get back with her. I gagged him again and remained silent for a long time. There's no chance for us. I stood up and walked out of the interrogation room, saying to Lisa, "Hand them over to Bella, she'll know what to do." Lisa grabbed my hand, her eyes showing a hint of panic. "Are you going to forgive her?" I smiled lightly, brushing her cute nose with my pinky. "Young lady, you think too much." She was still flustered. "Come abroad with me for treatment. Leave her completely behind." I smiled helplessly, stepping forward to hug her. "Don't be jealous. Aren't we a couple? We need to give each other a sense of security, so I'm willing to go abroad with you." Deal. The plane slowly descended, and the high-rise buildings of a city gradually appeared on the horizon. After 5 years, I had returned. Lisa sat next to me, angrily flipping through a magazine. What the heck? Now they're writing about deep love. I rubbed her head, laughing. Why are you angry when I'm not? Let me read you what these marketing accounts are saying. Miss Grace kneels in public to beg for forgiveness. Who is she begging? Miss Grace holds a press conference, revealing shocking secrets of the rehab center. Bella, heiress of the Kim family, with a net worth of tens of millions, still unmarried. What secrets is she hiding? I laughed out loud at her tone, leaning over to look at the so-called shocking secrets. The 10-page article, tens of thousands of words long, detailed the love-hate relationship between Bella and me. After I left the country, Bella went crazy, kneeling in public to beg me to come back. She even sent Jake to a mental hospital where he was tortured day and night. Upon learning that I was returning, she meticulously prepared to welcome her ex-husband. I raised an eyebrow, finding it amusing. Lisa tightly held my hand, saying, "Do they think I'm dead, ignoring the real wife?" I chuckled. "All right, I'll show them who the real wife is." At the airport, cameras and reporters were all focused on Lisa and me. Bella stood in the center, holding a large bouquet of flowers, waiting for me. After 5 years, she had lost a lot of weight, and the look in her eyes was much more humble. Seeing Lisa and me holding hands tightly, a severe pain flashed in Bella's eyes, but she still forced a bitter smile. "Ben, I have a lot to say to you." I raised my hand to stop her, lifting my and Lisa's interlocked fingers high, and said, "I know what you want to say, but there's no need. Lisa and I are getting married again. The wedding is in a week, and everyone is welcome to attend." With that, I held Lisa's hand and walked out of the airport. Bella somehow got my phone number and sent me a video. I clicked on it, and it showed Jake being tortured. "Ben, I took revenge on him. Will you forgive me?" I shook my head and sighed softly. Perhaps, in this relationship, no one was completely right or wrong. I handed her an electronic invitation and said, "You're welcome to attend my wedding." Then I blocked her number. Bella died, committing suicide the day after my wedding. She attended the ceremony but only watched from a corner, alone and lonely. I didn't see her at the wedding and only found out from media reports afterward. She died, and I didn't feel any sadness. I truly no longer loved her at all.